Ladies and gentlemen, live from the internet, this is the Scare Factor podcast.
Dum dum dum. Hello, everybody. This is Tyler. Thank you for joining us here, as Brian said, on the Scare Factor podcast. Before we get started, please don't forget take a moment to subscribe and ring that bell. Also, leave us a comment or a review. That really helps the algorithms know that we're doing a good job and that you like what we're doing. If this is your first time joining in with us, if you don't know already, we are the Scream teams for the Scare Factor, or some of them. And Nora and I are the owners of the Scare Factor. We're joined by Brian. He's our New York team. Everybody say hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
So let's see. Our goal here with the podcast is to help haunt goers have basically the best experience possible when visiting haunted houses every year, and we do that by sharing our experiences and knowledge with the customers and haunters alike, hoping that the haunters can learn a thing or two from our experience trying to figure out how to go to haunted houses, have the best time, and then because we're reviewers and we're used to being so analytical with stuff, maybe the hunters can kind of pick up on some things that we've noticed tend to do, create a better show. And so that's what we're hoping to pass on to you guys, is some of our knowledge. And yeah, so this week we're talking about haunted house websites and are they dead is the tagline for this week. And I think that's pretty obvious that they're probably not dead. I mean, even with all of these social medias and things that are going on, TikToks and Facebooks and Instagrams and the whole nine, there are a lot of ways to get in touch with a haunted house, not through their website. But I think even with all that said, there's still always a need to have that base platform that folks can go back to and be comfortable knowing that when they go there, they're going to find the information they need. The problem is, not all websites are set up to give everybody the information they need, and we're experiencing that big time right now because we're going through and starting to update the directory, get that prepared for haunt season, and not a lot of haunts have their webs, or their schedules and stuff posted yet. A lot of folks are still still got their 2019 stuff posted if they weren't able to open for 2020. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today is what should we as customers and reviewers be, you know, looking, or should we be expecting to get whenever we're going to a website? So any thoughts on that, Brian?
Um, yeah, I think one of the big things that as a customer I want to see on a website is the big three, right? When are you open? How much are your tickets? And what should I know? And on that last one, what I mean is if you are talking about how like your haunt is the biggest, baddest, scariest, most intense in your face haunt this side of the Mississippi, I need to know exactly what that means. Does that mean I'm going to get covered in fake blood? Do I need to come prepared for that? Does that mean you're going to grab me and carry me off into another scene? Or does that just mean that like you have a lot of energy? Because all of those things are totally different. Um, and there are a few haunts, and I don't want to call them out by name, that do that exactly. They say this is the most intense show you will ever see, and then they don't address what exactly that means. Are you going to touch me? Are you not? Are you going to cover me in blood? Are you going to force feed me? Are you going to bound and gag me? And that's to me one of the big things that I want to see. The other two things are I think pretty obvious, right? When are you open? What days and what times can I come see your show? And how much are your tickets? Because if your tickets cost $100, I don't care how good it is. I'm not coming. I'm cheap.
Right.
So yeah, we definitely. That's what we're running in. Like I said, what we're running into right now is trying to get the directory updated. We're looking for any information we can that's telling us, number one, are you going to be open this year? These haunted houses, and if so, what days are they going to be open? Because us as reviewers, anyway, and I'm sure some of the hardcore customers are feeling the same way. They're probably looking for what days they need to take off during Halloween season, all that kind of thing. We really need those schedules to be posted like ASAP. Now, most haunts are pretty good about getting those going by, mid to late summer, talking about July and into August, we're starting to see some schedules pop up. But for the most part, I mean, most of them are pretty blank this time of year. It's not very often that we see schedules posted this early in the season, and that's a real shame for us because when we're doing the directory, we may not be able to make another pass through your state and get that stuff updated for this year.
And on this same topic, our haunt website's dead. So as we go through the directory, we've got over 2,500 haunted houses that we're updating, and we're looking for websites for each of those. And you would be surprised at how many of them have not updated their information for the last year or even the last 5 years. But you go back to their Facebook page and they post like pictures of customers going through, and hey, we're doing 50% off night tonight. But their website says 2017. So some of them are dead and they should not be dead.
Right.
And unfortunately, that does happen with some more popular haunts too.
Mhm.
I again don't want to name names, but there's one or two popular ones in this area, and their schedule still shows 2016.
Mhm.
And
Holy
I
cow.
have so many questions.
Right. I mean, at that point, you're making it kind of difficult for your customers to buy tickets from you because they don't think you're open.
Yeah, like was the last time that you were open was 2016? You just like your website's still up because you're gonna open again maybe this year. I can understand last year and things got a little weird with the website because of COVID and like it was so up in the air. And you also didn't really want to if if you were trying to limit your attendance because of your states or your local government's restrictions on people being in one place, maybe you didn't want to advertise to literally the world that like, hey, we're open. Maybe you wanted to keep that a little low key last year. But I think in a normal non-COVID year, I should not be seeing a schedule from 5 years ago. I want to see, even if it's the same, just update it with this year so that like I feel better about like, oh, okay, you're open this year.
Yeah, you want to know that they're actually paying attention and something hasn't drastically changed. Like we see that a lot too with a lot of the websites that we update. It'll just say open every Friday and Saturday night in October. Cool, but it's usually still nice for us to see 2020 schedule at the top or 2021 schedule up at the top. That way we know that you've at least paid attention to that page and it's still relevant for this year.
Yeah, that's very true. It's just it's little things, and it takes all of what maybe a minute to go in and change the year on that page from your directory and say like, "Oh yeah, no, we're open this year. See 2021."
Yeah,
What did that take? A minute?
and I understand some haunts don't have control over their website and they cannot get in there to update that information. But if you do have a website and you can't get it updated, you might want to look at some other options. And there are free websites. Wix is one of them. I'm sure there's some others, but
GoDaddy's got some options, yeah. And a lot of these things are really just drag and drop. There's YouTube videos out there all over the place that can help you get you started. And it literally, like I said, it can take a maximum of 2 to 5 minutes to log in, find the page you need, change the dates to what's relevant for this year. But customers are really looking to get that information as soon as possible.
And a lot of those website managers now are very visual, so it shows you your website and you can just click on the field that you want to edit and it takes you to the appropriate section of the code, and then you
Absolutely.
can see like, oh yeah, that's where it says 2019. Let me update that to 2020.
yeah, and that goes along with what are websites' roles before and during season. So, as Brian said, before season, you might want to go in and update that from 2020 to 2021. If you're not running a drive-through haunt this year because it's not, you no longer have to follow those COVID regulations, please take that drive-through information off of your website so people don't get confused and think, oh, they're still going to have the drive-through this year because you're not. We don't really need to see that unless, of course, you want to say it might be coming back in the future and put it on a different page. So before haunt season, you want to build anticipation, provide that schedule, and you might want to throw some teasers in there. Probably not too many, like before July. As we all know, haunt goers, like your true haunt goers, will look all the time, but your majority of the crowd is going to look more so in October. September, August, you know. So throw some teasers in there, but not over the top. And just make sure that information that you have on there, wipe your slate clean if you need to. Take all the old information off. Maybe go through and update your FAQs because maybe you don't take Amex cards anymore or whatever the terms may be. Maybe now you're handicap accessible and you weren't last year, so go ahead and add that information in there. During season, that's when you definitely need that schedule out there because as we've mentioned already, some do not do that at all. You want to make sure that buying tickets, if you offer them online, is one of the easiest things for your customers to find. So we really recommend putting that on your homepage with your schedule if you can. So then that way people are going to go there, they're going to click on that page, they're going to want to know what times and dates are open, and they're going to want to be able to buy tickets at that spot. That is also a good time to throw the real teasers in there. So maybe even some customer walkthroughs that were from the week prior. You can do character, like releasing new characters, like, oh, we have this new black and white clown this year, and he likes to take children's souls and whatever it may be. Maybe throw a couple of those out there so people are like getting some anticipation going because that's how you get people to buy tickets to your show. You make them feel like they want to go. And you need to show them things that, they're like, oh, I think that's going to be really awesome, or I want to see this. So that is what we recommend doing during season. You guys have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on and agree that, and I understand that a lot of haunts, like especially this time of year, at least most of them around us anyway, they're already getting started building or they've already been started building for quite a while. So I get that they're probably really busy and updating their website is probably not the first thing on their mind right now. But having this, once you've got your website, all lined out and ironed out for the year, and you've got at least this basic info on there that can, you know, once it's in there and updated, that's doing the work for you as the haunt owner automatically in the background. Once it's there, it doesn't matter if it's me or Nora that hop on there trying to update the directory, or if it's your fans looking for see if you're doing any halfway to Halloween events or any off-season events. Having that in place, you know, as early as possible allows that website to be working in the background for you while you're, you know, working on the rest of your haunt leading up to the season. So
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to add to that is during the hunt season, if you have an active social media presence, getting people who are visiting your website to your socials is probably in your best interest, right? Because like that's what's going to help your brand grow is that social media interaction and that audience. The haunted house I used to work at, Frightmare Farms in Palermo, New York, it was not uncommon for one of the Q actors who happened to be the the person who would train new actors, and he was in charge of like training actors and stuff. His real name is Sam. His character's name is Xavier, but it was not uncommon for him in character to go live on Facebook on the Hunt's Facebook page and you know tell people like, "Hey, get out here. We're doing stuff tonight. It's going to be a great show. It's a beautiful night. Get out here and enjoy it." And like, having some link to your socials on the website would not be an awful thing, especially during the season if you're doing that.
yeah, nowadays it's super easy to add a Facebook, like a news feed plugin onto your website, and that's just another way that Google can help you, connect you and your socials together, having that embedded into your homepage or on a specific social media page, what have you. But yeah, if somebody is on your website and happens to not like your Facebook page yet or your Instagram, wherever you're posting these videos, that's a great place for them to get introduced to that other way to interact with you.
Right? Because, chances are if they found your website, they got it through Googling haunted houses near me. And they were like, oh, this one, sure, I've heard about this one. And then they click on it. Getting them to all of your branded stuff, definitely in the best interest of, I would say, most hunts. Not always. I can think of a few exceptions to that, but usually. So, like on the topic of that, talking about like social media and that sort of thing, what should a hunt website have?
I think there's definitely a few things that we look for as reviewers, especially because, you know, quality of the website and the online presence is kind of one of the things that we look at because customers need a way to find pertinent information before they arrive.
Well, and you want
And
your site to accurately represent your brand and what you're selling to people.
exactly, it's great if your haunt name is in the URL. Of course, you want your brand and your logos uh, plastered onto the front page and ideally on every page so that there's that consistency between social and website if we're trying to connect the dots there. Number one, absolutely number one is the schedule. We can't show up to your haunt and pay for a ticket, or even if we buy one online, we can't go to your show if we don't know what days you're open, what hours you're open. Are you opening for any off-season events? We got to know those. Um,
I would say that one's probably tied with location,
huh?
honestly. I would say your dates and location are probably just as
Dates and
important as each
location.
other.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, even if we know what day you're open, we got to know how to get there too. So we got to know your address. It's pretty easy to plug in a Google Maps, snapshot, and get directions from that on most smart devices. In, Nowadays, it's more and more important to be mobile friendly because we have a website. We know that it's very important for folks to be able to navigate your website on a phone. If it's designed for PC only, that may not make for a very good experience, and I might not be able to buy a ticket if I can't figure out how to get there from my phone if it's not designed right.
Yeah, a lot of haunts are still ran on flash sites, so that doesn't load very well on mobile at all.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
and
Google's
in
actually
case
phasing
anybody's
that
missed the
out.
memo, Adobe stopped supporting Flash.
Yeah,
What was it, January of this year, or was it December of last year? It
it
was
wasn't very
fairly
long
recent.
ago. Yeah.
It was fairly recent, beginning of this year, end of last year. It's no longer supported, so BT Dubs, if you're running a site on Flash, update it. Please and thanks.
Mm-hmm.
HTML5 is so much better.
Right.
I use a potato for a computer. Like literally, it's a cable monitor. It's a monitor cable jammed into a potato, and like that's like you remember that experiment you did in third grade where you like powered a light bulb with a potato. Like I've just taken that to the extreme. I stuck an 802.11 network adapter in it, and like here we
Right. Welcome to the
Uh huh.
podcast.
Yeah.
So, in addition to that other stuff, we also need to know, like, more so on the reviewer side and the avid customer side that really wants to know what to expect. Like Brian was talking about, we got to know what to expect when we get there. What kind of show are we looking at? Is it indoors? Is it outdoors? Do I need to wear my muck boots, or am I going to be fine wearing flip flops? Because that's what everybody wears to a haunted house, right? We wear flip flops and we run through and we run out of our own shit. No, I'm just kidding. But
Don't wear flip flops to any haunt, even though we see everybody doing it.
right.
I go barefoot. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that eliminates the being able to lose a shoe. You got us on that
Yeah.
one,
Yeah,
Brian.
Brian. Brian
Like I
doesn't want
don't
to leave
have
anything
shoes to
behind.
lose in a puddle of mud. Like
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm never gonna lose anything because I never had anything to lose in the first
Mm-hmm.
place.
I mean, you might lose a toenail.
No, it's fine. I pulled those off myself before I left the house. I had to really get in the mood.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, tell us what we're gonna get into when we get there. Are you a touch haunt? Are you not a touch haunt? Are you an extreme show? If so, why? Justify why you're an extreme show to us. Give us some examples, maybe some teasers, like Nora was talking about.
Uh-huh. I have one. If you're the best haunted house, you should also tell us why you are that. Because
Yeah,
we
what?
see that a
Uh
lot.
huh.
We are the number one haunted house, and a lot of times they will use our accolades to, say, hey, we were rated by the scare factor. But give some customers a reason why you think that. Like, don't just say it. And if you don't know why, because some may not, explain why you're different. Explain something that you present to your customers that you just feel like is your jam. It's your niche, your thing you're doing, and maybe you'd be surprised at how many people just like having that information over you're rated number one in the United States. You never know.
Yeah. And sometimes people just want the I guess the idea of a safety net of like, wow, this has been reviewed by so many sources and it's been number one. Take Netherworld, excuse
Hmm.
me, for example. On their website, you have all these things like all the news websites that talked about them or all the news, agencies that have mentioned them when talking about haunted houses. Hey, we've
Mhm.
been mentioned on MSNBC and Fox News and ABC and CNN and this and that and the other and all these places where they've been mentioned.
Mhm.
People like that. It makes them seem like they really are the most popular. And I don't disagree with that. They are easily one of the most popular, but
Right.
like
Yes.
they're putting it out there. They're telling you, hey, we're popular. People are talking about
Mhm.
us.
And all of this stuff doesn't like need to be on your homepage. We're not trying to tell you how to build a haunt website. We're just trying to tell you this is the information that your customers need to be able to see because we are your customers and we see so many things that are missing. So like all of these things like are you touch or no touch? Are you wheelchair accessible? This can go in your FAQ section. A lot of hunts have them, but not everybody. And if you don't, you should really consider adding something. It might save you several phone calls of the night because we know customers call and go, "Hey, are you going to touch us?" So if you have that there, it might get a little less phone calls in there. But the customers like to know before they go, and that information will help them. And there's a lot of things you can add to that page, including like telling them that you have food and restrooms and whether you charge for parking and all of that info because it for us, I sit there and read through that FAQ section of every place I go to if it exists. I want to know everything I can know because for one, it excites me to read about this information because I'm weird like that. But for two, I just know where I'm going. Like when you go to Walmart, everybody's gone to Walmart and they know what to expect in there. There's stuff for sale and the prices are going to be there, and there's that. But if you're going to go to a new supermarket that came to town and nobody's heard anything about it, you're probably going to do a little bit of research on it, or you're going to ask somebody, "Hey, have you been there yet?" So give them as much information on that FAQ section as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially the important things, that or the top things, I guess, that everybody's going to ask, right? Where
Are
do
you
I park?
scary?
How much does it cost to park? Can I get
Mhm.
food? Can I take a dump while I'm on site? Like, if I shit my pants, like,
Portable
what can you do
restrooms is a
about that?
big one. Knowing whether or not there's some kind of restroom facility is a big one, especially for the ladies.
And I know people overlook that and they're like, "What does it matter? We're here to scare you." But it's like, well, a lot of people are driving an hour to 2 hours to you, and depending on your located, we might want to know if we need to stop at the most local gas station to go to the restroom because I don't want to pee myself in there if I can avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, if I can help it, and like, not only that, but like, as I think as most taunt owners, if they haven't already figured this out, because they haven't reached this point in their life yet, they will eventually. As you get older, you can't hold it nearly as long as you used to in your 20s. So, those of us who are getting to a certain age, yeah, we may have gone before we left the house, but look, I got to go again, and it's either in a porta potty or it's on your shoes. Take your
Mm,
pick.
yeah, and if you don't have restrooms at all, that's another topic. But you're probably going to have people pulling their pants down in front of other vehicles and everything else. That probably happens anyway, but still, you know.
And yeah, we'd like to avoid that if it's possible.
It's something else some haunts forget too. Sometimes is temporary closings. Like if you're whether or not you're open is dependent on the weather. Let us know if you're going to be
Hmm.
closed on a night. I mean, most folks can probably put two and two together, but you know,
And that's what that phone number on the
a lot of
main
folks
page
can't.
would be good for, so they can call and say, "Hey, are you guys open?" I mean, but I will tell you, I feel like customers are so good at finding the phone number over everything else because they just find it and call you and ask you.
Right. I mean, it could be in neon letters on the front page, and people are still going to call and ask you about it.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
trust. Hey, I've done it because like I don't trust what's on your website because I found something else that was a glaring, uh, you know, something you missed, and it was just like this glaring thing that like, well, your
Hmm.
website still says 2018. It's 2021 now,
Hmm.
so I need this information, and I need it from the horse's mouth.
You can no longer trust what's on there. Yep.
Right.
Right. Well,
And
and not only that, you were talking about with the weather.
hmm.
You would think that, oh, well, if it's an outdoor attraction, if it's pouring rain, maybe that's not going to be open. Well, let me tell you something. Some of them are.
Yes, they are.
So
And I
I
guarantee
always need
somebody,
to know.
yeah,
I always need to know, are you open or not?
I guarantee somebody has showed up to a hayride or a cornfield in the pouring rain and expecting to walk through.
Or vice
Uh,
versa. Hmm.
The haunt that I worked at, Frightmare Farms, I can recall at least one time where there was pouring rain and the trail was still open, and that trail is 99% outdoors. There's one or
Mhm.
two little scenes that are covered, but yeah, it's all outside.
Mhm.
We've seen some of those
And
too. They'd say if you're a customer and you're brave enough to come out in this stuff, then we'll be out here ready to scare you. So okay,
Mhm.
but we got to know that before we go, you know.
Yeah.
that's it.
And is
Don't make me
having
drive
it on
there
the
an
web
hour in the rain and get stuck in the mud only to find out, like, sorry, folks, park's closed. Moose out front. Should have told you.
right. And is having that stuff on the website going to deter everybody? No, but it's probably going to help.
Yeah,
There's
it's going
always
to
going to
cut
be
down on
those
the number
guys.
of phone calls that you get and the number of messages you get on Facebook, and
Mhm. And
it's going to help.
when you put an address on there, because a lot of haunts do this, and then they have the little Google Map snippet there on the screen as well. Make sure that that dot is going to your attraction,
Oh God, yeah.
because as a directory we have latitude and longitude that we put in instead of a zip code, so it works with Google Maps. And we will put the lat and long for their zip code and their exact address in there, and it will take you somewhere 4 blocks away, or sometimes even like multiple roads away. And so if I were to pull that up in my Google Maps directly from this haunt's website, it will take me to nowhere. Like it's so weird how Google works that way, but and you would just assume, oh, if I put my address in there, it'd be fine. But that's not always the case. So always double check where it's taking your customers, because you don't want to accidentally throw them out in the middle of nowhere and they get upset and decide not to come looking for you.
It's something you can that haunts can do too as part of their web presence. Is once they're getting their website all up to date and all that stuff, Google gives you a free uh, Google My Business account that you can get onto, and you can update your location in Maps for free. You can add all of your information and hours on there as well. And if by chance they happen to find you on Google before they get to your native homepage, then they'll get some information there as well. 100% free.
Now, I know earlier we were talking about how we had gathered some examples of both. They were all examples of good haunt websites, but I think each one of them showcased something just really well. Nora, I think you've got all those links if you wanted to
Yes,
start
I do.
talking about those.
So we will start first with, we were looking for a haunted house website that had all the information readily accessible from looking at it, like it was clear where we needed to go. It was also mobile friendly and not overcrowded with things, but also more simple. So this website, of course, we can't show it to you, but it is demonacres.com. So www.demonacres.com. And on their homepage, they're like, "Welcome to Demon Acres," and they tell you, a little bit about exactly what's going on, what was new for last year, because at this time it is May, so these haunted houses haven't, some of them have, but most of them haven't updated for 2020. And without even scrolling on this homepage, I can click to get tickets. So that is a plus in our book, because, like we were saying earlier, you want that to be one of the easiest things for your customers to do. Now, currently, if you click on that, there are no upcoming dates, but if once they update this year, you'll be able to click on this page and you'll be able to see exactly what dates and times you can attend these attractions and purchase tickets from them. So aside from that, they advertise what their attractions are on their homepage, because that is how they are selling their haunted house. They want you to know that they have multiple attractions there and what they are and what you might like about them as a customer. Because all customers are looking for something different. So as haunt goers, we want you to give us a little bit about what's in there without, fully giving it away. And then of course at the top here, they have their home, haunts, tickets, picks, about, an FAQ, contact, and sponsors. So on mobile, you kind of have those choices. It's easy to find and navigate to get to those places, because sometimes you have to navigate through an entire homepage to find these things. And when people are in the car racing to get to another haunted house before it closes, and if it's yours and they can't find your information before you close, they can't get there. So, because like us, we always try to jam in an extra haunt. So, we really thought this website was a good example. And if you're looking at it or able to pull it up in the top right corner, they've got their exact address, they've got their phone number, so you know exactly how to get there, how to buy tickets, what you're buying tickets to, and that's really what you need to know. And then they have that about and FAQ section. So that way, if you need to know a little bit more that didn't need to be on the homepage, like do you offer concessions and do you serve alcohol and can I come to your attraction in a costume and things like that, they have a full section for that. So it's not over the top designed, it's not flashy, it doesn't have a lot of gaudy things on it because, like I said, we've seen 2,500 websites or more. And I'm sure the web developers listening to this could be like, yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about. It's too flashy is too much. It catches the eye a different wrong way. It's distracting. It takes people off. They forget what they're doing. And music was something we were talking about earlier. If you have music on your website because you kind of want to like try to get customers into the feeling of going to a haunted house as they're looking at your site, please make it to where we can easily turn it off. Because if we don't want to listen to metal music jamming out when we're trying to read something, at least make it to where we turn it off, because if we can't, you're going to lose some customers because they're going to get off your site just because they don't want to listen to it.
Even if it's spooky music or anything like that, as soon as I pull up a haunt website and if it starts playing music, first thing I look for is the pause button or how in the heck shut it off, or I'll just mute my speakers or something because I don't have that many squirrels. I can't focus on music and what I'm looking for in the website as well, and I just turn it off. I can't do it.
So then the second example that we sought out today is www.hellsgate.com. And you've heard us talk about Hellsgate before. And the reason that we chose Hellsgate Haunted House for a good example of how to build a haunted house website is because it has all of the pertinent information that Demon Acres had as well, although their site it's more interactive. So we're not saying one site is like better than the other, it's just two good examples of two different ways you could do this. So for Hell's Gate's website, the first thing that you see is obviously a big explanation of why they weren't open last year due to COVID. So that was the first thing that customers saw last year was, oh, they're not open this year. That's why there's no calendar down here. So they knew exactly that this haunt wasn't going to be open, but to look for them this season because they will be open in 2021. Below that, they have some information. One of their big things out there is find the key, your ticket is free. So they want to make sure they know that their customers know this before they go because it's one of those things that makes people go, huh? I can go to a haunted house and it might be free. What is this? And customers are like clicking all over this, like, how do I get free tickets? Because that's what they like. And then we've got some YouTube videos of things, about Hell's Gate origin stories. And then we also have like things that Zombie Army, who puts on Hell's Gate, does off season. So some cool information on this homepage. Aside from that, Hell's Gate also does other events and they do private rentals for their haunted house and paranormal events. So if you scroll through their top section, their menu, or scroll through it on mobile, you can see all of these other things that they do. And that's why we thought this site isn't 100% necessary for every website. You don't need to put all this information in here, but if you do have all of these facilitations that you can provide to your customers, you really want to highlight it on your website the best that you can. And they have done a very good job of that. So like even for their haunted house, you can like go to their media section, the gallery, and look through photos. And they've got some different things at the bottom, and like you can see real pictures inside the haunted house. These are the things we were saying you should do like right before or during season. If you scroll around and play with their history and the study on the about section, you'll find some interactive things that you can click on as a, website visitor and just kind of play with some things and learn what the characters are and why this is here. It's a very fun website to navigate. So we thought, since they have all their information, it's great. But one thing I want you to notice while you are on most pages of this website is there's always a buy tickets online now up in the top right hand corner. So if you are able to get your web designer to do that, just as soon as those customers realize I want to go to this haunted house, that needs to be right there so they can do that. And of course, there's a lot of examples we could use. And we could also share things of don't do this, but we didn't want to go that way. But the next thing we will highlight is things that we don't think are necessary for a haunt website or things that you shouldn't add. And this one that I'm going to start this off with comes from experience as reviewers. We have advertising on our website, and no names, but we had a haunt website, a haunt owner that went to Google, found some really awesome, badass pictures of a character, had them on their website, and then sent this character picture to us as their advertising banner. Well, this character was a custom created character that exists at a haunted house that we review. And we know the character. We know there's not another one out there because it's a custom silicone build. So, we kind of informed this person that we were not able to use these pictures under their name. And long story short, he thought it was cool, found it on Google, put it on his site and his advertising, and thought that was okay. Folks, that's really not okay. You could find lots of things on Google's. You can. We sometimes find things on there, but we're not trying to sell tickets to something to make money. But there are some, and we could talk about this in different podcasts if anybody would like to listen to something like this. But there are free places to get pictures from. And I know some of you don't want to share everything inside your attraction, but for the love of God, you have your own stuff in your attraction. Don't use everybody else's stuff. Come on, use your own stuff. I don't want to see a picture of this, let's say, silicone full bodysuit, like from the waist up, that's got his cave all open, and you're like, oh my God, look at that. They've got to have some tremendous costumes in there. And then I go to your show, and I don't see that thing or anything anywhere near looking like that. So
Yeah, I'm usually
that's
pretty pissed if I don't see that thing in your haunt.
Yeah, that's kind of like using the videos that they were all using. And I know they had some of that stuff in there, but there's several places that use the same marketing videos. And it's like, I better see all that in there. And that's what your customers are thinking too. They're like, oh my God, don't show me this character and then get me all hot and then just walk off and not show that to me. So don't put stuff on your website that's not yours unless you have like specific permission for like music and videos and everything. I've seen so many haunts take logos. Like they'll take out, okay, I'm looking at the Hell's Gate Haunted House website still. They'll take out Hell's Gate and take this exact haunted house and then put their name where Hell's Gate is. Same font, same everything that was created specifically for Hell's Gate. Don't do that. If you need help with like creating logos and stuff, first of all, we don't create good ones, but I will create you one for free if you need one. I have done it plenty of times. I don't mind. I can only create you a logo though. I can't really build
Li-
character
Listen, I have a
pictures.
10-year-old that loves to draw pictures. Like, just give me a shout. Slide into those DMs. I will put her to work.
Right. She'd
She
probably
loves
love
it.
it.
Oh, she loves it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it's going to involve her like super happy inside of your super spooky haunted house, but like, look, that's what you're gonna have to deal with.
Yeah. So what are some other things that you guys think that the haunts should not have on their websites?
I think unnecessary stuff, right? Like, I like seeing some photos and stuff, but don't show me 80 bajillion photos from all of the years. Like, make a gallery of say 20 or so pictures that showcases your attraction throughout the years if that's what you want to show. It's like, show me the history. I think that's cool. But like, don't show me every photo that you've ever taken inside your attraction.
Mhm.
At
Because
least
again,
categorize it by years or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, do something so that they're not all loading up at the same time. Because again, monitor plugged into potato.
Mhm.
Um, that's like the big thing that comes to mind for me.
Right.
We talked about the autoplay music. Uh, scares the hell out of me when I go to your site in the middle of the night because I'm trying to find some information, and all of a sudden Cannibal Corpse is blaring into my ears. Like, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I love Cannibal Corpse, but
Mhm.
I just wasn't expecting that.
Right.
Just I don't know, just like the stuff that like kind of catches you off guard and
Mhm.
like isn't super necessary, and just like there was something you said earlier and I don't remember what it was, but like I had this thought of like, yeah, when a site does that, like I immediately get out of there because like forget it, I'm not going to your show anymore.
Mhm. Well,
If I remember what it is, I'll let you know. Is
well, I
something you
can
said
tell you what
earlier.
that is for me. When they say something like, "We're better than," and it's a exact stab at the haunt down the road, but it's not their title. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
"Oh, we're the best haunt down the street. The others don't compare." Just they have ways of wording things that it's like, "Please don't go to XYZ haunt that's 5 minutes from me. You need to come here instead." Or when they say, well, this there was an example of, we missed out going to a haunt one night or something along that. We didn't know what time they closed. They decided to close an hour early, and we had called and asked if they were staying open until 11 like advertised, and they did not. And then they're like, "Well, why didn't you come here earlier?" And my response was, "Well, because we were at this haunt instead." And they were like, "What? You should have skipped them and came here. We're the best anyways," and hung up on me.
Wow.
And I've seen things like that portrayed on the website too. Obviously, not that exact situation, but it's like, no, no, no. Don't talk about the other haunts on your website. Talk about you. Talk about how good you are. Put that in your site. Don't put the other stuff in your site. Like, just leave that out of there. It looks very unprofessional. Customers will catch on to it, and yeah.
Yeah, if you've somehow managed to portray shitty customer service in text on a website, I'm immediately going to know about that.
I'd say another thing we've seen some do that probably just don't realize it, and it happens on Facebook too, is when their haunted attraction takes place somewhere that does a totally different style of business. And I'm not saying it's not okay to advertise a business with another business, but when your website has stuff plastered like, "Oh, don't forget to come purchase our book that our grandma wrote," or whatever it is, and it's like the biggest thing on the homepage because you're obviously trying to sell that stuff. If it's not spooky and haunt related, try to keep it off at least that homepage. Like if you want to advertise that, create a link for that. Put it in a special section somewhere, but don't make it like, we have seen a lot of places, especially more of like the charity places, charity haunts, where they're advertising what they do a lot more than a specific haunted house. So I would just try to keep your focus on your haunt.
I will say the exception to that is
Hmm.
perhaps a prominent sponsor.
Yes,
If
yeah.
if a sponsor's paying a lot of money,
Hmm.
put their logo somewhere where people can see that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because, like, obviously, they think that by sponsoring you, by giving you some money to help you out, that you're going to be able to drive some business for them by, name dropping them or something.
Hmm.
And that local business probably will be totally unrelated. It could be a roofing company that says like, "Hey, we just love haunted houses, and like we want to help you
Right.
out. Here's $1,000 to make your show that much better."
Hmm.
Please let people know that if they need a roof done, to
And
call
that
this
could
this
be what we're
company.
seeing too, but had that little line on there that says sponsorships. Check out our
Right.
sponsors for the haunted attraction. They help us put
Yeah,
this on for you guys.
or like this website proudly brought to you by, ABC Roofing Company. Whatever it
Hmm.
is. Like let people know that yes, that's a sponsor, but I think that's the exception is if
Yeah.
it's a sponsor and that's how you choose to do that, like that's okay. Just I need to know
Hmm.
that it's a sponsor.
Hmm.
Now, what would you change about a website? Thinking about some that are just kind of mediocre, like what would you change about a website that just isn't all the way there?
I would say a lot of times we will read about like a sub attraction or a side haunted attraction where it's like six haunts at one location, and there will be a sentence: "Oh, come to our haunted house. It's ran by, or it's owned by the Reynolds family." And that's all there is. And this can happen even for a single haunt, but a lot of times it's almost like when they have multiple haunts, you get less information about those haunted houses. So I would change that by, explaining more about the theme of that haunt if it has one, or what type of characters you might encounter in there, or what type of rooms you might encounter in there. Something to give that customer some more in-depth information on what this haunted house is doing on this, in this location, and how it fits in with the other attractions.
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing I would want to change about any given haunt website is I've been seeing this trend for a lot of websites where you have this really cool image for your background, but it is incredibly busy.
Mhm.
My eyes already hurt most of the time, and I get terrible migraines because of it. I don't need your website just absolutely screaming at me visually.
No. And that
Some
And
takes
like
haunts
I
like
don't
longer
put
need
to
a
to
load.
strain
video in the
my eyes.
background.
Yeah, like I don't
Mhm.
need to strain my eyes to like be able to read your uh your headline links. If I want to go buy tickets, like I don't want to strain my eyes to be like, is that tickets? I can't tell because of just the clash of colors here. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, some of these websites are super cool, but like they can also be super busy and then camouflage things where you would want people clicking on them. I
Right.
think a really
And
great example of a simple kind of plain website that's also super mobile friendly
mhm.
is KO Industrial. That's
Mhm.
www.cayoindustrial.com. Um, Now, their opening page is a little bit confusing if you don't realize that they have a few things that homepage will direct you to. The top thing is for their haunt in October. The I think the middle one was for their escape room, and then the bottom one was like for some movie or something that I haven't really looked into. I apologize. I apologize, Josh, if you're listening. I haven't watched the movie. Um, so like it once you go to the hunt side of things and you look at that page, like it's all vertical, it's all right there, and it's two contrasting colors that you can't miss it, right? It's a plain grayish background. Like it's still an image, but it's so plain that it's not like drawing your eye away from the links or the words or anything.
Mhm.
And it's all right there. Do you want to buy tickets? Click here. How do you get here? Click this. Here, you want to see our flyer? Here's the link for that. And
Mhm.
it's all right there. And I think with that website, there's probably not anything that I would change.
Yeah, it's very
Maybe I would make it
subtle.
slightly I would maybe make it slightly more mobile friendly and just
Mhm.
make the links a little more spaced out on the mobile version because I fat finger links all the time.
Right. Mhm.
But like that's such a small thing that like I could just zoom in a little more.
Mhm. Yeah, on mobile we like having like menus or specific things that are obvious to click on or whatever, so that way we don't have to scroll and scroll and scroll.
Tyler, what about you? What would you change?
I think one of the most aggravating things I've seen is when somebody's got their story on their website, which is good in and of itself. It's like 4, 5, 6 paragraphs long. This thing is huge, very well thought out. We've got no issues figuring out what the theme was, but they neglect to add in their schedule or their ticket prices or their any some of the more pertinent information.
So that
So
the things we
you're
were
saying
talking
making sure that the big three are there.
yeah.
Yeah, they'll add in all the cool stuff that you know, some of the fluff to let you know, hey, this is the haunted house, this is the story, blah this, blah blah blah. This is all what happened. And I'm like, cool, I want to go. How do I do it? And I can't figure it out because they don't have the information, or it's hidden somewhere, and I've got to scroll for 30 seconds to 2 minutes and look around, try to figure out where it's at, and it's not easy enough to find the right information.
And on what I would change, I see a lot of haunts and I know they don't like to do it, but as haunt goers, we would love it if you would link back to your haunts that are local to you. It'd be awesome. I mean, it's great to cross promote. And there are a lot of sites that are like, check out these guys. They're 5 miles away. Check out these guys. They're 10 miles away. Customers do like seeing that. They will scroll to the bottom and you could keep them on your site longer too. So that's probably something I would change. Like, if I had a haunt website, I would make sure I would try to do that.
Like other nearby haunts, yeah.
Hmm.
Especially if you're friends with those other haunts.
Right.
I know in this area, a lot of the haunt owners know each other. They're friendly to each other anyway. And like I think that'd be something nice to see. Like, oh hey, you're in this area, go while you're here, go check out Demon Acres because they're 10 minutes away. Go check out this show because it's 5 minutes away.
And I know obviously everybody's like, well, what if they're going to go there and buy tickets to them now and not me? But yeah,
Well, if they're 5 minutes away, why not both?
That's my point. I think most haunt customers are going to more than one attraction. So, in
You
the
I
might
same
think
get
night.
most
one.
are, but it's also like I've been in that situation where like I have to make a choice of like I can only go to one tonight just based on time or money or whatever it is, and
Hmm.
like I'm going to find out where all of those haunts are anyway because I had to Google it to get there in the first place. So like you're not doing yourself a disservice. If anything, like you're helping yourself and your friends out. Like hey, maybe the haunt down the road is more suited to that person's taste. Like, yeah, I'm sure you would much rather to have their money for the ticket, but like, if that other haunt's putting on the show that suits them better or that they would prefer, why not send them to the place that they're going to enjoy more?
You.
Well, and you can like the haunt that shared the other nearby haunts. If the other ones aren't reciprocating, the one that's doing the sharing might end up getting a sale just because of that good karma there. That good
Mhm.
sportsmanship, camaraderie, whatever word you want to use to describe it. They might
Yeah,
think,
and
well,
and even if it
yeah,
and even if it doesn't work out that way, then like, all right, you can take that information off of your website just as fast as you put it up.
Mhm. Yep. From a business standpoint, many won't do it, but from a haunt goer standpoint, from us, we like to see that. So.
I mean, I always start my search for places I'm going on thescarefactor.com. By the way, that's www.thescarefactor.com.
right?
Sorry, I had to
Yeah.
throw the plug in there.
Shameless plug in there, yeah.
Yeah, right. Speaking of shameless plugs, did you know we have a Spreadshirt store?
We
If
do
you
have
go
a
to
spreadshirt.
Mm.
thescarefactor.com, www.thescarefactor.com, you go all the way down to the bottom, you'll find a link for the Spreadshirt store. There's Scare Factor merch, there's all the team merch. There's all sorts of cool stuff in there. Do you ever want to put your baby in a Team Skelligore onesie? Well, now you can. I think we sell onesies anyway.
We do. Yes.
We do. Awesome. Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. You want to plaster your baby with like gory stuff? Like, go for it. I'm all for it, man.
Raise them right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're starting to approach the hour mark here. We'll go ahead and start wrapping things up. Want to thank everybody for sticking with us this long. I know this wasn't probably wasn't our most entertaining episode, but at least we hope to give you a little bit of knowledge on the importance of haunt websites and the role that they play in the customer's journey leading up to haunt season and even during haunt season. They are still very, very important, very relevant, super important to have that up to date all the time. So we will definitely catch you all next week. We are aiming to be here Sunday at 7 o'clock. The topic, well, what is the topic for next week,
I
Brian?
don't
Uh,
think we current.
TBD.
TBD.
Yes,
TBD.
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 We haven't figured
Hmm.
it out yet. I'll let you guys know on Friday, probably.
Yes, and we're
Fair
always
enough.
open to
Maybe Saturday.
suggestions as well. So don't forget, if
Yes.
you've got something you'd like to hear us talk about, let us know.
Oh
Yeah.
well,
Slide
next
into those
week.
DMs. Get in the comments. Do
n-
something. Let us
n-
know. What do you want to
e-
What do you want to hear about?
exactly. Let us know. Next week is Transworld,
Hmm.
as a matter of fact, and we will likely be if we're home by 7 o'clock, I'll be surprised. But there's a chance we
Right.
might be back to do the
Yeah.
podcast when we get back. So that is also TBD. Um, we may be postponing next week in lieu of Transworld. So
Yeah.
anyway, do check us out on Facebook. We will do our best to let you know what the TBD ends up being. So alrighty, that's a wrap. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And we will see you
Ring
next
the
time.
bell.
Ring the
Just ring the
bell.
bell.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.